Welcome to the Bold Goal Crusher podcast for anyone looking to stop letting life get in the way and start crushing bold goals. I'm your host, Sara Mayer, and I'm thrilled to navigate this journey with you because it's time to start boldly achieving without working double time. So let's dive in. Hello, Bold Goal Crushers. I'm super excited about my episode today with my guest. I think you're absolutely going to love this topic. So let me introduce you to Sabine. She loves working with female coaches, course creators, consultants, and therapists. And she's been in business for over 10 years, coaching leaders and creating training programs. Her journey includes building large audiences through her TV show, networking events, and social media collaborations. She's authored 3 best-selling books with a 4th one in the pipeline, and she's helped over 1,000 women start and grow their businesses within the past 5 years in her masterminds, one-to-one coaching, online courses, and memberships. So I am so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate you having me.
Awesome. One of the things that many people in the audience dream of is becoming a business owner. And some people out there are still sitting in their 9-to-5 job, in their cubicle, or even their corner office, and they're dreaming of something different and they want to go into business. And then some of my listeners have already made that leap. So I know you made that leap from corporate into running your own business. Can you share a little bit about your journey?
Yes, I think this would be really useful because I had a really hard time. And obviously, it's amazing to have these big dreams. And I was in a situation myself where I was a senior manager and in corporate, and I had a really great career, but I just felt like I didn't belong there anymore. I had a bigger purpose and a bigger vision. So if that is you, obviously, then you need to stop and just explore and pause. And I would say also explore what you want to do and how do you want to work. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the risks and the mindset today as well. And then if you already made the move, then obviously you can get yourself really lost because obviously I was a high flyer. I was a leader. I was a project manager. I was telling other people what to do and I was putting strategies together. But once I came out of corporate, I've lost because I couldn't do it for myself. And I think that is a lot the case when I work with my clients that they're leaders in their own right, but they need someone else to actually hold them accountable and give them direction and coach them as well. So first and foremost, it's really important that you're not going to attempt this on your own because you can really get yourself into this spiral of just consuming a lot of information, again, which I did. I'm just talking about my own experiences where I started off. I thought, yeah, I can do this on my own. And I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to read these books and I'm going to go on to all these free webinars. But then months later, even years later, I just had nothing to show for. And I then took the plunge and I invested in a very high ticket coaching program, which did lead me forward a lot. I'm not saying you need to invest so much, but invest something, get the support. That's number one.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I had the same experience. As many people know who are listening, I was in corporate. I worked for a very large nonprofit. During COVID, they did a layoff. And then I had started really talking about putting my workshop course that I was doing online. And so I was thrown into the deep end really quickly. But I used to joke when I first started that in my old job, I would go to a meeting, I'd have really wild ideas with the team, like things that were going to stretch us. I'd walk out of my office, I'd share it with maybe 1 or 2 people. I'd go to my next meeting. And by the time I came back from my next meeting, those people had already figured out how we were going to do this wild thing. And then I'm sitting in my business and I'm like, oh, this great idea. And there was nobody there to implement it. And I had to figure out how to do it myself. And that was my first real, oh, it's not as easy when you're by yourself, when you're trying to do it alone moment.
This 100%. Of course, change management is one of the things I used to teach, and I still do some of this stuff in corporate. But when you look at the change management, there's a change management curve, which shows you that any project you start, when you have this big dream, you're super, super excited at first, whilst you're not competent yet, because you don't know yet what you don't know. And once you start this project, you realize, oh my gosh, it's actually harder. And you may get really frustrated with this. And you try, you fail. And if you fail too many times and you don't get the support, that's why a lot of business owners actually quit after just 1 year. I think the statistics are quite horrendous. If you don't want to be part of that statistic and fail within the first and go back after a year or so in business and go back to the corporate job, then obviously you need to really get some support and also put on that CEO hat. And it's something you need to learn. And yeah, with that comes responsibility, because if you're not doing the work, if you're not showing up, if you aren't doing the correct activities, if you're not setting the goals, and we talk about goal setting a lot, and if you don't have that schedule in place and you don't do the work that really results in real into customers, for example, you could think to yourself, I'm going to have to do my branding now for months and months, or I need a logo and a website. This is where I started. And it didn't help. My husband's a graphic designer, so he wanted everything perfect for me before I ever opened shop. And I would say, please don't do that. Forget about website. Just put yourself out there and start talking to people, because as soon as you start talking to people, you understand what the market actually needs. And also, don't think you need to actually totally quit your job before you can get something started on the side. I think that's even a bit of a more of a safe route, that you want to maybe tip your toe into something whilst you're still employed, and there may be a few hours in the evenings or on the weekends or whenever we work shift patterns, and there may be some hours instead of watching Netflix, for example, build your dream. Go and do that and already start doing it. Quite recently, someone contacted me and she said, you've been recommended to me as a coach, and I haven't yet started my business yet, but I have a dream, she said. And I said, what's your dream? So she told me she wants to have retreats in Italy and Sicily and do all these amazing things, well-being and money mindset. And I was like, oh my God, this sounds amazing. You need to start talking to people. She said, I'm not ready yet. I said, you're probably never going to feel ready. And I know it feels scary, but you can never be early enough. Like you should start building your audience already now, I told her, even though offers might not be 100%, you might not have any website, but you have this idea, you have this dream, and you can start talking to people and build that audience.
Yeah, you've dropped a lot of really gold nuggets. I want to pick a couple of them up. The first one, when you were telling your story, you talked about how you consumed a lot of content. You took courses. I did the same. I took courses. I was like, all right, I'm going to learn all this. And my mistake was, I can read a book. Anybody can read a book. Anybody can take a course. But unless we do the work to actually implement that, it doesn't just happen by osmosis. So I love that you brought that up, because I think that's one of the mistakes that many people make when they first get into business is they start to consume all this content rather than actually implement all the content.
Yeah. And that is so dangerous, especially now. AI tools, you could go on ChatGPT and get all the content, and you have so much information, you don't even know what to do it anymore. And then obviously there's YouTube, and you're right. It's not about consuming more information. It's distilling the things that align with you and how you want to build that business, and how you also want to build a business and live your lifestyle around it, because so easily you can actually fall into this, like you become a slave to your business. And actually one of the books I can recommend. There's two books I can recommend. I've just read them. This called The E-Myth. Can't remember the author, but we can probably put it somewhere in the show notes. But that book, it's a little bit old, but they talk about franchises and how to systematize your business. And it has a nice story throughout the whole book around how this woman went into business, and obviously she's got a brick and mortar business selling pies, but all of a sudden she became such a slave to her business, and she just
Mhm.
fell out of love with her business because she was just working so many hours and she hadn't thought about the nuts and bolts and the systems around it and how she can scale and how she can really run a model that suits her and her lifestyle. The other book I'm reading is The One Thing, which I think
Oh, yeah. That's
yeah,
a good
it's
book.
quite
Yeah.
famous. And it tells you that sometimes we think we need to have a work-life balance, but there is no work-life balance. That's a myth. You can't really achieve that, because if you want to get good in something, you want to achieve something, you need to actually stretch yourself at times, get out of the comfort zone and really focus, and even do some overtime in some of the areas, but then pull back again.
Yeah.
It's not like forever, but perhaps there is a phase. And I think this is how we need to structure our business and our thinking if we want to have long-term success.
Yeah. Somebody explained it to me like a teeter-totter, how you can attempt to have it balanced, but it doesn't stay that way. Like, people cannot stay if you envision like work and life on the teeter-totter, two people, it's impossible for it to stay balanced, and so sometimes one has to go down, sometimes that stays down, and the other one is, way up because you're doing a lot here, and then it comes back, and so you just need to try to keep it as close to not an angle as possible, but when it
Mhm.
is, it's okay because it can always come back, and I think it really resonated with me that it's near impossible to keep it completely balanced.
Yeah. And that's fine. I think we probably feel guilty, or we feel like we're not succeeding when we are feel out of balance. And as long as we're aware of that and we are happy and we know that we're gonna actually master one skill,
Yeah.
we might wanna, yeah, have a short burst of doing it. For example, just having a marketing campaign, or running a challenge, or creating a webinar. That sometimes, creates a big sprint of a lot of activity. But then also we need to draw boundaries and say, okay, I can't finish everything today. That's fine. I'm going to continue tomorrow.
Mm.
And if you have to go and pick up your children, or if you have to book, or there is an event you want to go to, then that's when you stop work, and
Mm.
you don't want to suffocate your personal life and the stuff that you want to do in your personal life, because probably one of the reasons why most people want to change up when going to entrepreneurship is because they want to have more time freedom. They want to spend
Yeah.
quality time with their family. Yes, they want to maybe make more money and not answer to boss. Many reasons, but mainly we want our time back. We want our lifestyle back. So remember that we must not shortcut or forget some of the personal things. So have that always in your diary, and then work around that with your business.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I also love that you brought up that we don't need to have all the things, a shiny website, a new logo right from the beginning. It's really about talking to people and getting things started. I know when I was in business, that was the first thing, like, hey, do you have a logo? Do you have a website? Somebody asked me if I had business cards. Like, I
And
hadn't even figured out exactly what I wanted to do yet. And then when I started talking to people, I realized it became very clear what I was good at or what I should be doing. And had I spent all that time building a business with a website and a logo and even business cards, all that would have been wasted time, energy, and actually money.
yeah, absolutely. This is the thing. Perfectionism and procrastination are our biggest enemies. And the reason why we might procrastinate or procrastinate because we think it's not quite perfect yet. I guess that's the fear that we're being judged or it's ready
Mm.
and all that is, or it won't work. And that's just, yeah, it's just really, we're hampering ourselves. And it takes a lot of guts to break through this. And we may also have to remember the Pareto 80-20 rule,
Yeah.
right? So 80% there, it's good enough. We can always strive for continuous improvement. Again, that's something I used to do in my corporate job. Like otherwise we would have just stopped doing anything.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's so important to also be a little kinder to ourselves when we're building a new business. I think in corporate, I know in corporate, there's like this culture, there's this automatic structure that's been there for however long. And you have people that just keep that drumbeat. When you create a business, you get to decide what that culture looks like. And that's really cool. You get to decide what the days look like. I have a friend who started a business and everyone will be off to be able to pick up their kids from the bus stop. Like, how cool is that, that she has the ability to decide and create that and build a business around that core value?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually the reason why I built the business, because my kids were so small and I really wanted to see them grow up rather than have them in childcare and someone else actually taking care, because I just feel so strongly about giving them, nurturing them, giving them my values, teaching them what I believe in rather than having them, yeah, and externally in childcare. And then childcare can be expensive as well. So you got to
Yeah.
actually do that, whether it's worth it or not. So that was definitely my consideration. And I would have not changed it for the world now. I'm just really, really happy that I did that. It was scary in the beginning because I literally left and I didn't build the business on the side. I wish now I did. Yeah, but on the other hand, if you do that, you just burn the bridges behind you and then you're on it. Then
Oh, yeah.
you committed, and you need to see this as super duper commitment once you do that. Because if you don't, then yeah, frustration could kick in and procrastination, and that leads to self-doubt. So we need to really work on the mindset all of the time once we're entrepreneurs.
So you alluded to this. So you left corporate without building the business and then you built the business. If you were to do it again, or if you're coaching a client, what advice would you give them if they're sitting in their 9 to 5 and they're like, I just cannot be here anymore?
So I think there's two types of people, which I've learned over time. For the first type of person is someone who doesn't mind taking the plunge and, perhaps has a bit of financial cushion and will just go to work and just starts the business full time and understands it will take a bit of time to actually make money, because that's the problem. I guess a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'm starting, I'll have my clients, I'm making triple the amount that I'm making right now within
Yeah.
1 month. And
Yeah.
that's a little bit, yeah, it can work, but most of the time it just doesn't. And we need to be aware of that. So that's the one type person. And that means they can build the business without distraction. Because when you are the other type person, type B, which is the person who still needs that security cushion and wants to just dip their toes into entrepreneurship, then they'll keep the full-time job or maybe go down to part-time, and then they'll just build it slower with that security backing. I did a bit of a job in between as well after some time, and I found it really distracting, to be honest.
Mhm.
Felt really restricted because I had to do work for this company and then answer to the boss. And as soon as they booked in meetings, which didn't suit my diary, I was already like, I was not feeling good in this environment. So I realized I needed more creative room.
Mhm.
Or if you can handle that and you know your timetable on your work side, and then you have a timetable on your business side and you keep that separate, then it will work. But if you type A, like I am, and you need a lot of creative room and you feel suffocated, if you did have something else, then yeah, you might be better just to go full in.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to figure out what's best for you. I think for me, I had a different scenario. I was thrown into the deep end of the pool. I would have liked a little longer runway, but it worked out. Everything's going well. But I think it's really critical, and you mentioned it, that you figure out what your comfort zone is. Some people are really comfortable with the risk or they have a financial cushion. And then some people need a little more security and a little more runway. And I think either way is okay. But many times people don't take the leap because of the security of the job. Like that paycheck comes, I know what to do. What would you say to the people who probably are ready, but just haven't moved forward?
If you haven't moved forward, then you are not uncomfortable enough in your current situation. Because if you are really extremely unhappy and this is all every day, it's painful to be in this situation, you'll make that leap.
All right. So you've worked with, I think you said like 1,000 women. Was it 1,000 women?
Yeah. I think
Wow.
over now in the in many years and many iterations of my business. That's another thing I would say is don't think you start with something and you can't change. You can swap and change, but
Mm,
obviously not too often. But yeah, there's always a pathway and an alignment and a sort of a correction somewhere as well.
yeah. So you've worked with 1,000 plus women. And you mentioned mindset. I would imagine that many of the things that you're working on have to do or tie to mindset. So, what would be some of the advice that you would give to our listeners who have this calling to start a business or they just started it? But as you mentioned, there's a lot of excitement at the beginning. And then I like to call it Quitter's Valley. There's a lot of resistance or obstacles, who are sitting in that obstacle phase where they're thinking, oh, this might not work.
So what I've learned personally as well is that social media isn't helpful because we compare ourselves to other professionals we look up to and we see them soar. We see the people who are doing seven figures, and when you think, oh my gosh, they've just come out the woodwork out of nowhere, but it's not true.
Mm,
So we need to make sure we stay on our path. We need to have a very strong why and a very strong vision. And we need to develop an authentic voice so that we can stay in our pathway. Um, and then obviously the mindset, I think mindset and strategy go hand in hand because one of the things we need to have is clarity, and we need to be aware of what strategies tend to work and what's out there, what's available. And then you need to have a good structure, because if you don't have a structure or accountability, then your mindset can wander.
yeah.
You can all of a sudden say, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do today, or how will I achieve this goal? So structure will really help. And I coach a lot of spiritual leaders as well who are very creative, and my husband's very creative. But I can even see it with him. If he doesn't have structure, he's just
Yeah.
wandering. So that is very important. And it's about continuously strengthening your self belief, your self worth, working on your money beliefs. And this is a continuous journey. This is never ending. We are on the journey. And remember, we need to actually take joy going this journey rather than just always thinking, oh, when I am there, then I will be happy.
Yeah.
It's a journey, and it's about loving the journey and being present in this journey rather than thinking there is this destination waiting for me.
Yeah.
And I hear this many times, even from coaches who's done it all, who's got it all. They don't need to work anymore. Even they say, we're not be still, even though we've got all the money in the world.
Yeah.
Um, it's the sensation goes. So it's really why are you running this business, and how are you developing these connections, and how do you do business, and what impact are you making? Leave a legacy. Are you on a mission?
Yeah.
It's so important. And I think it's going to really help throughout mindset, strategy, everything you do in your business.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up the destination because I think so many times everybody does this. I'll be happy when I get that house. I'll be happy when I leave my job. I'll be happy when this happens. And then we get there, at least this has happened for me, get there and it's, oh, I did all that for this? Like, this is it? There's no party? So I think we have to create some of those celebrations for ourselves. But as ambitious women and entrepreneurs, many times we're on to the next goal. We just move on to the next challenge.
Yeah. And I think, but if you see this as a journey, then your challenge or I guess you're not looking for the next challenge. It just comes. It's almost compare it to, so I'm from Austria originally, so I love mountains and hiking and everything else. I'm thinking about hiking up a mountain. I don't really yet see the summit. I know that it's, oh, let's say I'm hiking in the fog. I just know the next couple of meters and I know where the next rock is, where the next obstacle is. And then even if I did come up to the summit, I'd probably see another summit somewhere else, which is even
Yeah.
higher. So I'm going to hike there. So I think it is really the journey, which is continuous and you continuously are evolving, which is the beauty about this evolution rather than seeing it as a let's walk from A to B and then we're just there and do nothing anymore. But it's not going to happen.
Yeah, true. And I love this conversation. I know many of our listeners are looking to start a business or they already did and they may be struggling. And I just think that you have shared so much wisdom. If somebody's listening and they're like, oh, this resonates with me, how might they get in touch with you and what might they expect?
Yeah. So obviously I'm on most social media platforms. LinkedIn is a big one for me. So search me up, Sabine Matharu. I'm also on Facebook. I've got a free Facebook group. It's called the Limitless Coach Success Community. And also I leave a little page there with a couple of resources. It depends where people are at. So some people are just starting and they need more clarity around their messaging or their offers, or they need to dial in their target audience. Some others may want to scale. So I have programs around scaling. I love everything to do with automation because I just feel we do so many things like over and over again that can be automated in our business. So I have resources around that as well. So feel free just to share that page and whatever
Yeah.
you feel is useful. I also have a goal planner there as well. It's called the Magical Goal Planner. If you want to dive into that one, it will ask you all these foundational questions and help you set habits as well.
Cool. And I know that you shared your link to free entrepreneurial resources, which I'll link in the show notes. If you're interested, it's bit.ly/success formula resources. I'll also link that in the show notes so you can grab it. Thank you so much for being on the show. I've just loved our conversation, and I know the listeners will love the conversation as well.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate it.
All right, bold goal crushers, it's time to get out there and crush your goals and everything that gets in the way because you do not need to work double time. So let's get to it. Thank you for tuning in to the Bold Goal Crusher podcast, where we crush goals and everything that gets in the way. I always love to support my community. I look forward to seeing you crush your goals this year.